Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and this is day 4 of Revenge Week 2.0. So you're gonna be cayenne pepper levels of spicy after watching this video. Also, the giveaway is still on until this Saturday, card in the top right if you want to know how to enter. How to train your roommate, a Fortnite intervention. Edit, believe it or not, in my 6 years on Reddit, this is my most upvoted post. Thank you guys and gals for the love and thank you for the silver. Edit 2. Change some things to make it less identifiable to me. I don't know, 1,000 people or more made me paranoid. Super long time lurker here. This is inspired by a top post I just read from 10 days ago. I had a similar experience and typed this out in their comments, then decided to make it my first post ever. TLDR at bottom. I had 3 roommates, 2 upstairs, 2 downstairs. All of us were 20 to 21 years old, yet I was the only person in that house that wasn't completely burnt from college, snowboarding and partying. In turn, I was always the one cleaning, taking out the trash, shoveling snow, patching holes in walls, setting up the Wi-Fi, etc. I held the lease, the utilities, the Wi-Fi, and was the sole point of contact for landlords, neighbours, repairmen, anyone. There was actually this one time some coked out crap faces fought through my 80-inch living room window at a party we were throwing. I learned how to frame and install windows that week. Many stories like that. My roommate who lived upstairs with me was privileged. He didn't work, his parents paid for his lifestyle and didn't bother to check up too often. We had an adjoined bathroom. Basically, if I open my bathroom door in my room and he opens his in his room, we can sit on our beds and look each other in the face. The bathroom was quite small, so it was maybe 15 feet from bed to bed. He would always leave his bathroom door open and then loudly play Fortnite all night, screaming, "Let's go!" or "We got the dub, boys!" waking me up multiple times a night. In the past, I was cool with everyone having weird hours and our life being a flurry of bad choices, but I was growing up, and my friends were not. I had just gotten my first salary job at a large, well-known and hated corporate finance firm. At the bottom, hating life, being overworked and underappreciated and being hyper-monitored. How long I pissed was a metric they looked at. It was tough. I gained 50 pounds in 6 months tough. I would wake up at 5:30 AM, and my roommate would still be playing Fortnite. I started closing his bathroom door before I went to bed. He would just open it 30 minutes later and leave it open. I reached a boiling point one night and asked him to stop playing it at night. He blew it off in his usual style, and rather than get angry, I got smart and started planning my revenge. Just like Pavlov's dogs, my friend was highly influenceable. There wasn't a lot of stimulus getting through his skull on a daily basis. First, I tried to be nice. Then I tried full-on manipulation. I could turn off IPs from being able to connect to Wi-Fi with ease. I don't think anyone in the house even knew that was possible. They perceived Wi-Fi as this strange magic box you plug into an outlet and then it just appears. I started blocking his Xbox's IP every night before bed. He started using his phone to tether to his Xbox. I started blocking his phone and his laptop, and then I would switch them back on for like 15 minutes and then disconnect them when he was in the middle of a game. I was trying to get him to believe the Wi-Fi was just effed late at night. After weeks of hearing him stomp around in frustration and a couple of calls to the ISP and convincing clueless performance by yours truly, he admitted defeat to the formidable Wi-Fi. My original goal was to make him quieter at night. I figured he would catch on that I was doing it and simply not yell at 3 AM every night. What happened was much better. He started going to bed at a reasonable time and waking up at 8 AM to play, when the Wi-Fi was going strong. Unfortunately, his cabal of 20-year-old Fortnite diehards did not have the luxury of not working and could only play at night. He got bored of playing without his friends and started hanging out at the local skate and shoe store where our mutual friend worked, and eventually got his very first job out of boredom. I single-handedly conditioned my friend to improve his life and mine in just 60 days, all without him knowing. That was a very wholesome revenge, actually. Steal from me, I'll ruin your career. This was about 2 years ago in college. I had just moved into a house off campus with my 3 closest friends. There were 2 other college guys already living there. All of these guys were doing Air Force ROTC with me. Basically, you go into the military after you graduate. I really liked all of my roommates and the house, except for one of the dudes that was already living there. He had a dog that would constantly rip up, piss, crap on the carpet, and he wouldn't clean it up. Furthermore, he would yell at us for leaving dirty dishes in the sink, while he was the one making the vast majority of the mess. I had a job working around 30 hours a week and doing school full-time and doing ROTC. I had a job as a server, so I would make quite a lot of tips, around $300 a week. I would leave the cash in my room boxed up because I trusted everyone in the house. We were all going to join the military and integrity is a big thing. So I go to deposit my tips in the bank after not going for about a month, and I'm shocked when my cash deposit is only about $200, when I knew it had to be at least $1,200. I knew someone was stealing my tips then. It then made sense because my deposits had seemed a little low for a while. I was furious because I was barely scraping by working my ass off trying to pay for college. So I buy a security camera for my room and hide it. I get all the documents from my work regarding the tips I've made over the past few months. I continue leaving my tips in the box unconcealed as bait. I don't tell any of my roommates this. Sure enough, I leave for a trip and I get a notification on my phone. I watch as this mofo that I trusted steals about $300 in cash from me, taking only $20 bills so I wouldn't notice. Well, the next day back from the trip, I schedule a meeting with our ROTC commander. I bring him all the evidence and video footage and tell him about my awful experiences with him in my house, with my other roommates as witnesses. Long story shorter, he got kicked out of ROTC and ruined his career. He had to pay me back about $1,000. I let him off easy, and he had to pay the military back about $9,000. He had been getting paid by them for about a year. In addition, we go to an expensive school and he chose a useless major, so he is stacked high in student debt with no real way out. And finally, he had just quit his job because he thought he could get away with stealing from me and watching TV at home. And he had just crashed his dream car he had been working on for a while because he drives like an idiot. I still see him every so often on campus and smile at him. Imagine having the nerve to quit your job because you think you can live off stealing your roommate's money. He got exactly what he deserved. What a jerk. Boss fires me for no reason. Got what she deserves. Okay, first off, this is my first post and I suck at writing, so forgive my spelling and grammar mistakes. I work at a company straight out of high school that deals with sports and workwear as well as branding. I went to the interview for a storeman responsible for the cage, a place where we kept orders that were ready to be delivered as well as orders that are still awaiting payment, starting in early 2018, and it went well for the first 2 months. Then I found boxes of orders from more than 6 years ago and asked my boss about it. Her answer was to move me from the warehouse to the financial department to find out why they are still there. Now first, I know almost nothing about finance. Secondly, as a guy of over 2 meters tall sitting at a desk in a small office just doesn't work, but it came with a new job title, finance administrator, whatever that is, and a pay rise, so fine with me, getting paid more for the same job and all I have to do is go through some old papers as well. Sign me up. So over the next couple of months I made a list. I went through the whole cage and found more old orders. I found more than 80 orders, totaling over a couple of million in value. Every time I figured out why they were still there, I added the reason to the list, as well as saying what happened to the items. My boss would look good in front of the owner. If there was no reason as to why it was still there, or why it was there to begin with, my boss took that box and I never thought of it again. I just updated the list with which boss took that order. So when I finally had a reason for every order older than 1 month that was still there, I got a raise again and went back to the original job I was hired for, still with the finance administrator title on my contract. I was suddenly called to my boss's office when I was told I was useless and not doing my job, and I was promptly fired. And here is where my revenge comes in. That list I had was on my computer, and the only copy of the list was in my personal email, as I would work from home sometimes. I handwrote the list and typed it at home. So when I went to hand in my laptop, I made sure to remove everything that I did from it. No list, no emails, nothing left. I then contacted a lawyer to ask for advice. My dad recommended I do this, saying they have no valid reason for firing me. My lawyer had a field day with the case. I got more than 2 years worth of pay, my full contracted time, as well as an apology from my B of an ex-boss, but it doesn't end there. I contacted the owner of the company and informed him that I still had that list, and how B had fired me without reason, cost the company money, and how she took stock if I couldn't find a reason as for why it was still there. He informed me that he will look into this, and I sent him the list out of good faith. He was a nice guy the few times I met him. Finally, today, I was talking to a friend that still works there. I was told that the police had shown up and dragged that B away in cuffs for stealing stock. You want me to turn the faucet off? I want you fired. To address any confusion beforehand, I work for a large local college campus as an overnight custodian. I was forced to agree to confidentiality, so no names or companies will be listed. M is manager, J is jerk, SI superintendent, HR human resources. Take a ride with me, my fellow Redditors, and be sure to buckle up, this is a long one. Backstory, I had been working for a single month. Jerk decides he thinks I'm cute after having one conversation with me about my truck, and the events that followed are ridiculous, true, and I am a 23-year-old male-presenting transgender individual. Jerk was a bit strange. He was about mid-50s, going bald, and literally talked like a 5-year-old. Many rumours spread about him using drugs, but I genuinely believe he is autistic with a speech impairment. Due to this belief, I let everything he had done to me slide. He would follow me around my work buildings, stare at me obsessively, rub his D while staring at me, make sexual comments. He even showed me a porn video once. I was not too happy, but I let it slide because I'm a trans man and don't need labelled as too sensitive. Jerk would even go so far as to follow me home, and I would find him in my yard or parked across the street from my house. This behaviour had gotten worse over the course of 6 months. The stalking had gotten so bad I got my concealed carry licence fearing he would try something. This part is extremely important. I complained to manager. His exact words? He likes young hot studs like you. Since the complaint wasn't taken seriously, I had threatened to go to HR. That got his attention. The next day, manager had forgotten this all happened and the following encounter went as such. Jerk followed me into the custodial closet. Hey, do you like this candy? I have a bunch and want you to have some. Okay, thank you. I really wanted to tell you to turn the faucet off. You left it on last night and I came up to turn it off. I don't like turning your faucet off. Jerk, I never asked you to turn my faucet off. If I get in trouble, that is manager's job to reprimand me. Any issues and complaints can be taken up with him. There wouldn't be an issue if he would stop being lazy and turn the faucet off. The damage was done. I decided enough was enough. The day came, manager had sat me down and had manager 2 take down the complaint. The meeting took 3 hours. The following day, manager almost paired me with him again, so I put my foot down. I told him I absolutely would not work with that man a day after a complaint was filed. Manager 2 was called to campus to come deal with me. A heated discussion followed and resulted in me being pulled from the current campus to another. They gave me the day off because I had a full-on panic attack during the encounter. The following day, Friday, I stayed outside. I wanted to make it perfectly clear I wouldn't so much as go into the same building as Jerk. I waited until he left to go and collect my things and start work. Cue the superintendent walking up and pulling me into a meeting. HR was already in there. I had assumed since no conversation happened about how they were going to handle this and what would happen to ensure my safety, I figured this was that talk. Nope. Look, this whole situation was blown up to unforeseen levels and we unfortunately have to let you go. Your termination letter is right here and is effective immediately. I looked down and read the paper. Workplace violence and code of conduct violation. Workplace violence? What did I do? It had come to my attention that you had concealed carried a gun and threatened manager and Jerk. I was floored. I am not a confrontational person at all. I knew for a fact I had never threatened anyone in my entire life. I am shy, reserved, and typically keep to myself. At this moment, I am absolutely done. Something snapped and an entire side of me came out. The revenge. In the meeting with HR and superintendent, I requested their card, told them I'd file an EEOC complaint on the matter because I'm being wrongfully terminated, and that I would like to schedule an appointment to talk with HR alongside a personal advocate. I'm not sure you can do that. You're an adult and can speak for yourself. Personal advocate or lawyer, take your pick of which one you want there. She didn't answer me. I went on a rampage to be the biggest inconvenience to HR as I possibly could, calling every 4 to 5 hours, open or closed, leaving a message every time I called. I went down there to the HR office with a personal advocate at my side. They saw me in the waiting lobby and hid from me. I finally managed to get a hold of someone and scheduled an appointment. This meeting took 4 hours because I now threw manager and superintendent in the line of fire for not properly doing his job. Laughing, not filing an official complaint, not taking proper accommodations into consideration, and not meeting immediately after the complaint. I had told them that they violated my Second Amendment right to conceal carry, that there was no justifiable proof I threatened anyone. Everything that came out of manager's mouth was pure hearsay, and they cannot fire me for something with absolutely zero proof. At most, maybe a probational period would have been adequate. I went on to tell them about the EEOC complaint for retaliation, sexual harassment, Second Amendment violation, and anything else I could possibly think of to label this situation. The meeting ended, but I wasn't satisfied. I contacted news stations. I wrote a letter to the NRA. I wrote a letter to a transgender equality organisation. I continued to harass them about the status of my case. I pressed forward with EEOC charges. A meeting was called. My EEOC representative called for a settlement. They gave it to me. In addition to my job being given back to me, the firing of 4 managers, a total system and management overhaul, a civil rights review, an HR mandatory training of about 2 hours on not sexually harassing people, and a serious ass chewing to the superintendent. Jerk was also fired. All because I wanted justice for a stupid faucet. That will show you to tell me how to turn the faucet off. A-hole. Edit. I also find Jerk on Facebook and regularly stalk his Facebook for new employers on his page, look them up and give them calls to tell him what kind of person he is. He hasn't held a job in about a year because of this. Okay, so that's all for r/ProRevenge. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!